Hi all, welcome to BRR Knowledge Center. And in this today's session, we'll talk about how to build UI dynamically using AngularJS. So like there are some cases where we need to build UI based on the given control details in the JSON or XML, and that way it is going to make a robust UI across all the pages having consistency look and appearance. So let's look at this AngularJS stuff, like how we are going to build UI using simple HTML, and where we are going to use dynamic form set template and specifying all the controls in a JSON format, and then build UI. So I have simple HTML here. This is my HTML. And this HTML, I just now mention it. The AngularJS app name is app, and the ID was ng app. And this is my title, and this is my Bootstrap Css file, which I wanted to be referred here to see the UI looks more, having a good appearance. So then, so I decided to give a Bootstrap CSS here. And coming to here, this is what my AngularJS minified file, which is having my AngularJS stuff. And this is what I'm talking about, dynamic forms.js. This is the framework library where you have dynamic form UI building logic here. This is what dynamic form UI stuff. Here I mention it like created model dynamic form and direct to dynamic form. This is what the Angular director I'm going to use it for building my UI. So here I mentioned some couple of controls here which are going to support it here, text and date and datetime and datetime local, email, month, number, to submit, reset and submit buttons. So these all type of controls are going to be displayed on the UI. If you can mention it, the control type as these supported control types. So this is what the dynamic forms skeleton, a library where we have built some having built-in logic here and controls which got supported by AngularJS. And rest all logic was the as I mentioned, we are going to give the control details in the JSON. That is what app.js. This is having all my control stuff here, and this is a simple skeleton here. I've created angular.model with app, and the controller was app control. And this is what the variable which got defined as a scope within the scope, and within this I'm going to define my controls. Now before that, so we need to know like what are all the syntaxes and templates for these control details to be defined here. For that, we have a template here, form template. If you look at here, form template.js, that's what I mentioned it here in this. One of the reference is dynamic forms.js, and another one is app.js. This is what jQuery. That's anyway. I think we can specify it from anywhere. Okay, and so app.js, as I explained, app.js, this is what the library which I have Angular model name and controller, and the controls which I'm going to specify it in the JSON format. So let's look at this stuff here, like how I'm going to mention it here, and see. So coming to the form template, so this is how you need to specify. If you wanted to specify kind of bogus control or button control, you need to specify type as a button, and model is button, and button label you can specify it here. And similar with checkbox and checklist and color control, number control, and datetime and text with some properties and as image control. This is what the template for your form controls. Now let's get into our app.js here, and before that, again back to HTML. So this is what the references I mentioned it here. I have a body, and which I'm specifying my controller was app control, which I created here, app control in my app.js. And then I created a dynamic form directive here, which I have mentioned here. This is what the directive I'm going to use it, dynamic form, right? Customized directive. And that directive I'm using it here, and this is what Bootstrap class I'm using. And template, I mentioned it, some variable standard form template, and the model was same thing. And lesson was something I've given it location registration, which I wanted to display as the title for these, and just that's it. And this is what another stuff which I'll explain later. Okay, now go back to this standard form template. So in app.js, I defined standard form template as in a scope variable. Here I'm specifying my controls. So when I open my HTML, this HTML, this is what app.js we are talking about. So if I open this HTML, I'll not having anything on my UI. By default, it is location registration, because this is what the legend I mentioned it, and no more controls are available in my app.js, hence it is not showing anything here. Okay, now I'm going to add one by one here controls here, like what control you want to display. Those all details you need to mention it here. Firstly, I'll mention it in the this is going to start with field set, and this is what the closing. Here I'm going to specify a type. This type was field set because I wanted to use some caption for my field set, and a label. And this label I'm going to give it as location registration. I'm saving it, and if you go and see here, you will see location registration is coming up here with a field set. So within this field set, if you wanted to give anything, I'll change it to location details. Then already location registration is in the legend, location details. Now, how to give another controls within this particular field set, right? So you just add whatever controls you wanted here, and that way I think you will having more clarity on this. So in this field set, okay, I'm going to specify fields here, and fields and closing. Here I'm first one I'm specifying location type. This is drop down I'm going to create it. Then I'm specifying lookups as well. So type was select, because I wanted to display this as drop down, hence I'm saying this is select. Okay, and then give some labeling for this label. This label name I'm giving location type, and then again put comma, and here you add lookups. Like I'm going to add empty first row, then I'm saying caption as choose to select, right? Here I'm saying options. So what are all the options you wanted inside of your drop down? Okay, here I'm first giving a first option is first, and inside of this I'm saying label. This label was the first option, right? And similarly you give a second. This is second option. I'm going to define it, and here label second option, right? And I'm just saving and see like how it is appear. I'm just saving. So within this field set, okay, I'm going to show the location type as one of the control, right? With this first and second option. Let's see like how it is rendering on the UI, and save it. Just open it, and you can see here nothing is coming up. Let's go back and see here what is happening. This is the fields location type. I think we are clear here, and the type we have mentioned it. This is the select, we have mentioned it, fine. And the label, this is what the spelling mistake we had it, label. and the location type empty, and choose to select. And options, again, I think we have options, first option, and these options, I think first option we have the given as a label, again spelling mistake, label, and this is also same. Now let's try to see here. Yeah, location type. Now first option, second option, the lookups are showing here. This is how we are building UI based on JSON here. This is my JSON within the field set. Okay, I have fields here, one field location type, and this got ended here, right? And again, if you want any other control here, you can create other control as well. If you want any other control or any text box, you can give it here. And that way, I think you can give other stuff here. I'm just adding it. I'm going to add all this stuff here. Okay, this is what how I added. And similar way, I think you can add other controls, whatever controls you wanted. Let's say like I wanted to add another control. Let me show you stuff, right? This is what my complete stuff here. If you look at here, this is the location type, and this is health board, and this is location name, and this is location child. So all the stuff I mentioned it here, all the controls, whatever controls are required till registration time. If you go and see here, you will see the form is like this way. And under this location details, you mention it, there's stuff, and the phone details you mention of this stuff, and this is something other stuff, email type and preferred email, and this is the registration date time, and this is the registration time. Okay, now so all the controls are displaying based on the controls you have mentioned here in this particular stuff. Suppose if you want to add any other control, you can add it as explained in the before. Like if you want to add any other control after this, just put a comma here, and you can say like I wanted to add a button here, say button, because that is what the template I have shown you. And in this button you add again type, say what is this control type, I say this is button, right? And again you say like label, that means what caption you want to display. I think I wanted to display as load. And still you can add an event if you want, callback event, and that event is going to add to your button. Save it and go and see here and replace. Now my load button got added here. This is how you are going to add a control dynamically based on the JSON stuff you are mentioning here in app.js. So if we go back to your HTML, so this stuff is what we have done it. And coming to here, and another div have been added to display my standard form data. Whatever data I'm giving it, this is what input data I'm giving. That data I wanted to display in the right side of my HTML. That's what I mentioned, it is HTML form data. Okay, if you look at here, this is my HTML form data. So whatever value you are selecting here, whatever name you are giving, it's kind of Georgia or something, all this stuff is adding here. And also ABC line number 1, Kingston. So whatever the stuff you are adding it, it is adding all the stuff here in this right side, right? And similar way, NPI number, and here health board option, and primary contact, and here also again address, and this is state you are adding, and this is the country you are adding, and this is postal code, and this is again country you are adding. All the stuff, whatever stuff you are giving it, all the stuff it is adding as part of standard form data, and that is displaying it here in your right side stuff. So this is how we are displaying the dynamic UI based on the JSON stuff you are giving in the app.js. This app.js, so I mentioned it all the control stuff here. This stuff is taking care of this dynamic form.js. This is loop through all my stuff here. Like, this is what build fields, where it is getting all the stuff here, and that complete stuff, it is loop through every control here. And you know uh, based on the type, like, this is going to be add, this is number, or it is text or text area checklist, and based on that it is going to set the properties, and then it is adding this attributes and the controls to your new element, and that element finally added to your HTML stuff. That's how HTML is building. If you look at here, this is nothing but HTML. This HTML uh, got all the elements, adding it. So this is running through loop for all the fields from the build fields. Okay, so I hope you understand the AngularJS stuff, how it is adding or generating a dynamic UI. And also you can see whatever values you are entering here, the entire stuff you will just take it in a single line of stuff, and passes through your API, and that API will save the data in the DB server. It is very simple, easy for the developers to get build UI using AngularJS. And a similar way, you get this JSON stuff, whatever values you entered on the standard input here on the screen on the page, that values are automatically reflected here against each field. And that entire JSON, this entire JSON, you just take it in a single line and can pass it to your database. So I hope you understand the concept of building a dynamic UI using AngularJS dynamic forms a template, and you can implement it whatever way you wanted it. And all the controls you mentioned it here in this app.js, that is what only the difference you have. And based on the requirement, you mentioned all the controls here, and a later part will take care of by this dynamic forms template. Thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe this channel for more videos. Thank you.